Hello, welcome back to another segment of GAPCAST. I'm Debbie Foreman, your host. I'm the founder of GAPTrax, where we work with the sole purpose to empower humankind with everlasting gap-filling skills. And on these segments, we react to people, influential people around the world that talk about gaps all the time. Why? Because we know that they talk about them, you hear it, and nobody shows the framework. So before we get to the framework, which is the following segment, somebody just sent me a link regarding a conversation about gaps from 9 years ago. And here's the question: how much bigger has the gap gotten over the last 9 years? You ready for this one? This is from Hillary Clinton 9 years ago. So let me pull that up for you real quick. And this looks like it's going to be a short segment, and from what I can tell from the timestamp that was given to me. And now I'm really curious to see what happened and how these gaps have, what there was talked about in the gaps, how she addressed them, and if there's been a solution to them. You guys ready? Here we go.
As it's ever going to be. I have put forth ways of paying for all the investments that I make because we do have the entitlement issues out there that we can't ignore, but we are failing to make investments that will make us richer and stronger in the future. And that's where I think our biggest gap is. So,
all right, just the mention of the gap, which is failing to make the investments to make us more powerful and richer in the future. Okay, well, let's see what is she talking about this gap, because I didn't quite get it so far.
I think it's important that we look for ways to pay for our investments.
You know, why would government not have to pay for an investment if all businesses have to be able to pay for their investments? Society has to pay for the investments. I'm not quite sure where she's going with this, but let's keep going.
But I think that there can be short-term decisions about the kind of federal dollars that are available now with a revenue
Federal dollars available now. This is 9 years ago, all right? 9 years ago.
Stream to pay them back in the future that would bridge the gap if we can't do everything that we need to do to really give the economy and job creation.
I'm stopping it right there. To bridge the gap, and we've got it captioned here, if we can't do everything we need to do to really give the economy and job creation the job
kind of boost that
it needs. Well, it doesn't take the biggest amount of investment. Let's keep going for a minute before I actually move on to
it needs, but I'm not going to commit myself to that because I would like first to pay for what we're going to do, because I think that we've had a period where the gains have gone to the wealthy. You know, the Great Recession wiped out 13.
Okay. She's getting into the political view of it, and I want to. All right, so she's getting into the political view on that. I'm going to admit that. She's talking about bridging the gaps that would help create jobs and skills. Now, I'm going to ask the following question. First, I'd like to pose a philosophy. If every day the job and upskilling goes unaddressed with systemic actions and frameworks, and every day turns into a week turns into a month turns into a year, and now 9 years, almost 10 years later, I am asking the question, what has been done to fill that gap that she brought up 9 years ago, that they were thinking about how to pay back the investment? First, I got to think about it, then I got to figure it out. And then what are they going to do? Because I don't think anything was done. She wasn't elected. None of that happened. The question is, that gap is the same gap that we have today, but that gap got even bigger because this was before the pandemic. Jobs, skills. What if instead of big, huge, massive investments, there are small bite-sized actions that can be done? And what if it starts with reskilling educators to be skilled to teach the skills that the World Economic Forum requires on today's job market? Oh, but that's going to involve trillions of dollars. It involves lots of knowledge, and there's already billions of dollars of professional development money out there. So why isn't the current professional development budget in education being used to close the gap in reskilling the workforce? Why do you need to wait a decade to do that? If the World Economic Forum says these are the skills that are required, but how are you going to require the skills to be taught if the educators don't know how to do it? So I'm actually going to make this a really short reaction, because we're going to flip into the next segment where I'm going to show you 3 ways that this is done. I just finished a 30-month project on this. Didn't cost billions, and it didn't cost millions, and it created a regional impact to be able to start closing the gaps to be able to skill from kindergarten up through the educators. It is possible. It's not impossible. And it's not billions and it's not hundreds of millions. It's using what's already out there and taking away gap taboo that, oh my goodness, I might have to actually change. And people that are teaching might have to change to be able to upskill, to reskill, and to prepare those skills. You know, how much of it is it taboo? I'm going to show you in the next segment because these gaps have gotten bigger from the time that she was spoken, from the time she spoke almost a decade ago. All right. Thanks for being here. Get ready for the next segment. This one kind of like frustrates me. It's like getting my blood boiling here. So I'm really anxious to go on to the next segment to be able to show you initial steps that can be done instead of thinking about it. So thinking about it and then pondering, and then trying to figure it out, and then a decade later not be figured out. Because there are people out there that have done it, have figured it out, are doing it, and you guys just don't know about it. But we're going to shine a spotlight on that and show you the hints and tricks that can make the next generation not have to wait a decade. See you on the other side.